Welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Ali, and today we are going to cover the Power BI roadmap. And so I'm from the Power BI team. I'm joined by...
My name is Rui. I'm also on the Power BI team as a product manager, focusing on professional BI experiences.
Cool. And so today we're going to cover the Power BI roadmap. I look after the Power BI products on the GPM. And I don't think you can cross that. Okay. So I want to just going to spend like 5 minutes to cover like what our goals are and what the strategy for the Power BI product team is going into the next 6 months. And so some of you may have seen some of these slides before. I'm just going to be very fast and iterate through them. Is our mission statement for the Power BI team is to drive a data culture. And so we want to empower everyone, everywhere to make data-driven decisions every day. And so it's no surprise that this has been our journey for the last couple of years. For the last 7 years, and if you look at this chart on the right, this is our actual usage growth of Power BI. And so we've been doing an extremely, I would say, promoting the data culture within people's organization has been a mission that we've been following through on. It's been all thanks to the community of just making sure that people are using Power BI, and it's testament to the numbers that I just share on the screen on just how much progress we are making as a team. If I look at just the community is constantly growing. We have one of the largest communities inside Microsoft, specifically just for Power BI. And so this just talks about the level of scale, the fact that how and where are we available in terms of like the user groups and communities there, and all thanks to the community as well. I like to show this graph just as a quick reminder that in terms of the Gartner Magic Quadrant, Power BI continues to socially distance itself from its competitors on the right-hand side, and has continued on that trajectory. The next Gartner Quadrant, Magic Quadrant, is actually coming out next month. And so I'm hoping we maintain that social distancing rules. And Forrester as well, we've been leading the Forrester Quadrant as well. Again, Forrester hasn't updated for the last 18 months, so they will be updating very soon as well. 97% of the Fortune 500 companies use Power BI today. And you're probably wondering, what are the other 3%? What are they doing? They actually have their own BI competitor to Power BI, and so I would not expect them to be in this number. So we've exhausted all of the customers in the Fortune 500 that we physically could that do not want to compete with us, AWS, Salesforce, and so forth. I'm not going to talk about Fabric today. I'm only going to be talking about Power BI, but I do want to say that Power BI is part of the Fabric family, and Fabric introduces many more capabilities. I'm going to briefly touch on it, but we're going to really focus more on the Power BI aspects. But if you guys are not aware of what Fabric is, I highly recommend you guys stay tuned and watch some of the sessions that are available in SQL Bits to learn more about that. And this is like my final strategy slide. The Power BI strategy can be really distilled into 4 core components. And I had this amazing flywheels diagram that has always been the thing that we do and love in the Microsoft team, is to create these beautiful strategy diagrams. And at the core of it is really to be the best in BI. That's really our core focus. And so we want to make sure we have the best in class visualizations. We want to deliver the best in class value and to help drive that mission statement that I shared with you earlier. On the right-hand side, you're going to see us talk a lot about unified across Fabric, helping people drive data culture, helping people bring their data estate into Fabric. And so this is another key category. Like Power BI is only the final piece in your data puzzle. It's not the end goal. You want to bring in ETL, you want to do all those cool machine learning things that is driving the market crazy like right now. And so you want to be able to do that. On the left-hand side has been where we traditionally focused on, which is we want to become just like a ubiquitous with Office. And so we really want to bring Power BI to where your business users are, because they don't want to go into powerbi.com. They want to be using it in Teams. They want to be using it in PowerPoint. They want to be using it in Excel. And so this has really been our core strategy focus for the last 5 years, and will continue being our core strategy focus to go and reach the billions of users on the planet. And then the final one, which I'm going to show you many demos for today, no surprise, I'm going to show you Copilot today. We are infused with AI. So AI has become a big momentum shift inside the marketplace for BI, and I'm going to focus a lot of that in the demo today. So what you get is this beautiful picture, these nice little pillars. I'm going to focus on 3 of the pillars, and then Rui will focus on the enterprise-ready pillar. And I think that's all from the slides. I'm going to go straight into demos. So I'm going to focus on best in BI. I'm going to show you some like cool BI features. I'm going to show you slightly integration with Office, but I'm going to really focus on AI and Fusion today. And if you came to my session on Fabric yesterday, some of this will be a repeat, so I apologize for those of you who've seen the demo already. And then it's a live demo. So I'm going to switch to my Power BI desktop. I'm on a developer build, so if something does go wrong, oh, you guys can't see it, that is a problem. And I think that's just because of the way this is set. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through some of the new features that we've either recently launched or are about to release in Power BI. And I'm going to focus on this specific use case. So I attend the Gartner Bake Off every year. The Gartner Bake Off is where they put us together as competitors. So Tableau is there. We were there as Microsoft, and Power BI was represented. And we basically compete like a British Bake Off against each other with our tools. And so Gartner gives us a data set. The data set this year was on understanding what drives poverty or what are the socioeconomic factors of poverty. So we designed this beautiful report. I'm going to walk you through half of the script so I don't spoil the Bake Off for those of you attending the Bake Off again in the UK in May. But I'm going to walk you through just what the analysis we did and walk you through some of the cool Power BI features along the way. So I focused this year's Bake Off on Italy. And you're probably wondering, why did I pick on Italy? Italy is one of the most interesting countries when it comes to studying poverty. And I'll explain why in a second. So if you look at just some of the key principles of Italy, like in terms of like GDP, they are fifth in all of the EU. If you look at population, they're third. If you look at life expectancy, they're also third. And if you look at GDP, they are still third in all the EU countries. But if you look at poverty specifically, you'll see they are 44th ranked in all the EU countries. And if I use these, this interaction that you can just switch between pages using these buttons, you'll see that, and if the chart decides to load, see, I told you, the demo will always fail me when you need it least. Okay, let's see. There is a visual here that is meant to show you. Something went wrong, which is exactly what I expected. And I told you, I'm going to develop a build because I'm going to show you a brand new feature in a second. So we'll get there hopefully soon. I'm going to switch here. And let's see if this will work again. If not, I'll switch back to my other demo. What you're meant to see here, and obviously this chart will not update for the life of it, so I'll just ignore it, is that you're going to see a large divide between the north of Italy and the south. So the north of Italy does not suffer from much of poverty. They're actually quite highly ranked in the EU. But if you look at the south, you'll see a heavy distribution of poverty. And if you go through the different factors, and I'm not going to walk you through all the factors, you'll see that there's a lot of interesting factors when it comes to like how many people have education or have a basic education, how many people have access to good road conditions, and you see all these factors here. But what I want to draw your attention onto is just the fact that in the last like 6 months, we've been heavily invested in more visualization. So you guys have been asking for better visualizations, better formatting options. And so like we've been investing in what we call the card or button slicer. So I can easily switch between the different experiences. And so this is a brand new visual that we recently released. Gives you the full customization. So you can put an image, you can put text there. You can also put these nice little like measures so you can actually truly get the level of customizations that you want. You can also use the new Azure Maps, which is what's failing me right now, where you can actually see the difference between the north and the south and actually overlay it with also card visuals as well. And so you get this nice, rich, interactive experience. Sadly, my map visual is not loading, but you get that inside Power BI. Now, what I want to show you is just a couple more things before I switch to Copilot, which I think is more demos. One of the things that we announced about 3 months ago is we announced dark mode. And so this is going to be coming into desktop very, very soon. And so you're going to have a chance to play with it. And so dark mode, as you can see, is not complete yet. These buttons haven't changed yet. But we are going to have full support in dark mode. And so for those of you who are sensitive to the eyes when it comes to looking at your screens, we are going to have a dedicated dark mode coming into desktop very soon. So that's a cool feature that I want to show you guys here. The other cool feature that I want to show you, and I'm just going to switch here, is for those of you, how many of you guys know DAX or would say you're a DAX expert? And look how many cans went down just as fast as I said that. Learning DAX has been one of the biggest pains for many, many users in our product. And so one of the features that we recently released is called visual calculations, and I'm actually going to show you what that means. So here I've got a very basic chart that looks at the cost and sales amount by month. And so I've got this nice little thing there. I'm actually going to I want to create a new calculation that does a running sum. Now, for those of you who know DAX very well, you know that doing these kind of calculations where you're trying to calculate some sort of offset or some sort of running sum is extremely painful to do in the product. And the great thing is with visual calculations inside Power BI, we made this super simple. So what I'm going to show you is, so I've got cost and sales amount here, and I'm working off the data that's on the visual. So like I've got January, February, exactly what you see in the visual here, I've now got it in a table view. I'm going to just show you just some cool things that are there. I'm going to just calculate my final margin, or I'm just going to call it margin, and I'm just going to type in here sales amount minus cost. Now, if I was to do this prior to using just normal DAX, surprisingly, this will be a very difficult function to do. I hit enter here, and I have easily my margin calculated for me directly inside this visual. And so I'm working off the data that's in the visual, not anywhere else. Now, if I want to add or do something a bit more convoluted here, let me just go back here and say new calculation to add another one. If I want to do a running sum, we actually provide you pre-made templates. So if I want to click here, running sum, and I just change this to sales amount, guess what? I now have a complete running sum that I can easily see. And the great thing about visual calculations is I can hide the original columns that I'm not so interested in, and now I have a running sum, a running total directly inside this. And just to do the DAX normally for this, you'll see you've got multiple lines of DAX code just to get to this. And so it's one of the cool features. And we're going to also improve it so you can just use the Excel-like behavior where you can just click on the column names rather than typing in. So we've got a lot of cool features coming in for visual calculations for this. Now, I'm going to focus more on the AI side because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people love this thing called Copilot, and you're probably wondering why. So I'm going to click on a blank report, and I'm going to continue on what I showed at Gartner. And for those of you who don't know, Gartner gives us this painful data set which has access to like thousands of different columns. And they ask us to go and find something interesting in this data set. So I've got like thousands of socio-economic factors to do with Italy, like agriculture. I've got education, how many CO2 emissions Italy has done. So I've got a ton of factors. And I'm really want to understand is how does poverty impact here? Now, in the BI bake-off, traditionally we go through and just manually go through all the data. I use the key influences visual, the decomposition tree, all of the features that we've released so far. But this year I was kind of lazy. I was like, can I use Copilot to help me create this beautiful report for the bake-off? So I'm going to use Copilot. Copilot is an assistive experience. I think you guys have all probably seen or heard the pitch. It allows you to use natural language to express what you want to do, and then it allows you to bring it into the product. So I'm going to click on suggest content for this report. And this is going to go through just a bunch of factors of the data set, and it recommends me pages that I can create from it. So in the bake-off that I want to do, I want to create a page to analyze Italy's economic performance. This looks like what I want to do. I'm just going to click create here. And just in a matter of seconds, you're going to get a fully fledged report out of the box. And it shouldn't normally take this long. And we'll see if my demo will actually break today. Okay, so it's returned. And so what Copilot's done here is it's gone through all of my data models. So all those 1,000 columns that you saw, and it's actually gone and returned me a fully functional report. It's designed it itself and laid it out for me as well. Now, it hasn't done the best of jobs. Some of these visualizations are not necessarily best. The great thing about Copilot is I can just interact with it and like customize it to my heart's content, and then just shape it just like I would normally do with any other chart. So this is just one of the benefits of Copilot is it helps me provide a quick starting point into my analysis. Now, specifically for the Gartner bake-off, and just for those of you at the back, I wanted to cheat. And so to cheat, I said, hey, can you help me create a page to examine the relationship between the health indicators and poverty? That was the question we were trying to answer. And so I said, and I challenged myself, I said, let me just give it to Copilot, and let's just see what Copilot does. And hopefully this doesn't take too long. Again, Copilot will analyze my entire data model and then hopefully recommend me a new page to do the analysis. And this has broken it broke yesterday for those of you who came to my session yesterday. And it did not break today. I'm just going to delete, again, some of the useless visuals that it's returned. But one of the most interesting things, and I'm just going to bring this chart here just so you guys can see it and enlarge it. One of the most interesting things about the Copilot is I did not know that the best way to measure poverty when it means to compare different countries is to actually look at something called how many people can survive on $3.65. That is the industry measure. Now, I did not know that. And so I just asked Copilot, because can you analyze poverty? It actually picked out the right field. And just to convince you guys, there are many fields with the word poverty in it. It's not just one. It picked out the exact right one. And this is where the benefit of Copilot really shines through. It brings that domain knowledge, that knowledge that I don't necessarily have, that I don't have the time to go and search out for. And it was able to find the right field. Now, I can extend this one step further. There's a visual that we provide out of the box. I'm just going to delete this visual out of the way so you can see it, where you can actually create a Copilot narrative. And what this does is uses the same tech behind Copilot and allows me to summarize the data. And I can give it commands like summarize the data in 3 bullets or less. And you can give it commands to just get it exactly the summary that you want to do. And so I'm just going to click create here. And this is going to summarize the entire page for me and create it in 3 bullets or less for me. And this should take a while. And it's done. And it gives me like nice data. And the great thing is I can also click on these like symbols. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. And it tells me where it's getting the data from. So it allows me to build that trust, that transparency with the AI directly. So it allows me to see like where it's getting these insights from. And if I'm also lazy, I can also ask questions directly in the Copilot. So I'm going to just, for the people at the back, so you don't see me boring typing, I can also ask it questions against my data model. So I can say which year had the highest poverty rate. I'm just going to click here and paste it. And you'll see in just in a matter of seconds, it will answer that question for me. I'm just going to dock this away. And it answers exactly where it got the visualization from and how it calculated it. So again, it helps me like build the trust. But one of the more cool things about Copilot is sometimes your answer is not on the page. And sometimes the answer is not even in the data model directly. So let me give you an example here. So imagine I wanted to calculate the year-over-year change across all of these different data points in this visualization. Now, the way I would have done that before was I would have probably exported it into Excel and done the year-over-year calculation and been very lazy, and then maybe imported it back as a CSV file in my Power BI report. The great thing about Copilot is Copilot understands what you're trying to do and allows me to bring that data in. So I'm going to ask Copilot, what is the poverty rate difference for every year since 2015? So it's not physically visible, but Copilot can kind of work it out just by doing the eyeballing on the visual. And you'll see that the power of Copilot is it will understand what I mean and will actually generate the result directly in the pane for me as well. So just give this a couple of seconds. This can also fail as well. But it will also give me the change. And I can also ask it and interrogate even further. So I can say, hey, which year had the highest change? What happened in the change? Or can you, for every decade, can you calculate the change? So it's not just by year over year. I can do it by some, again, semantics that I'm applying to Copilot. So this is one of the more cooler features. This feature's constantly been improving. Like we've been improving it. It's now using GPT-4 rather than the old version of GPT-4. So we're constantly updating it so that you can help you provide your starting point for when you're doing your report creation. Now, and I'm just going to minimize my teams here for a second. I'm also going to go into Power BI again. I'm going to show you a different type of Copilot to help you clean your data. So I'm going to quickly switch into my demo here, into data flows 2. So as part of Gartner, we also have to go through the script about how we clean the data. And a lot of the time is spent a lot of time cleaning the data for the bake-off. And so once this loads, you'll see that we've got a very untidy data set. So they give us a data set, and they say, can you please go through your product and see how you can do ETL data prep and get the data in the right form. And so this should, again, the internet is not my best friend here today. I'm going to load up Power Query. And I'm going to just show you that I've got a nice, simple, neat data set that has all of the socioeconomic factors for poverty for every single country. And you can see that the data is not very clean. I'm just going to zoom in here for those of you guys can't see. Column 1, column 2, column 3 isn't necessarily the column names. The first row is pretty useless. And actually, the column names start from row 2, and then I've got nulls here fixed. So traditionally, what you probably would have done is you might have used the diagram view, the thing that's built inside Power Query, to do one of the hundreds of different transforms available to you to quickly clean that data. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to use Copilot to clean that data for me. So I'm just going to click on Copilot. and I'm going to type in what I want it to do. So I'm going to just type in directly and say, can you remove the first row and can you promote the headers? So I'm giving Copilot a list of steps to clean my data. I can't even type in things correctly, so let's do that again. And what Copilot will do is understand again the context of the question that I'm asking, but this time Copilot understands M, knows how to produce M, and actually writes the formula down for me so I can validate it later on and apply the transforms. And so now I'm to a clean state with my column names. And I can go one step further. So that was a very simple thing. You're probably like, you know what, Mo, that's really simple to do. How about you take it a bit more complicated? So traditionally, when you're working with Excel, you'll see that I've got a lot of nulls here. If you have like a merged column and you try to bring that into Power BI, merged columns show up as nulls because it doesn't propagate the fact that it was merged down. So what you need to do is an operation called fill, but I'm kind of lazy. I want to fill from columns 1 to 5. So I'm going to ask Copilot to do that. So I'm going to say, can you fill the rows down for columns 1 to 5? And again, Copilot will try to understand what I mean. Again, I did not specify the columns directly. I just provided a range. And now, hopefully, it's filled it down. And I've got the data in the right format or the shape that I want it as well. Now, the final operation that I want to show you where Copilot really shines is very traditional background for when you're working with Excel data. You've got like year columns, and instead of having a single year column. And so I've got 2004 all the way up to 2022, and I want to clean this data up. Now, the best way to do that is actually to unpivot the data, but I'm not a pro user. I actually don't know what the unpivot command is, but I want to just express what I want the Copilot to do. So I'm going to tell Copilot, and I'm going to type in the following and say, can you take all the columns which look like years, so I'm not even giving it the year column, and can you make them into rows? So again, I'm just expressing how I kind of want it. And Copilot, again, is going to figure out exactly what to do and will then apply that transform for me. And so hopefully, after it's worked on it for a couple of seconds, you're going to see that the data is in a single year column, it's unpivoted correctly, and it's applied it in a value column. And I can keep extending this. Like I can even ask Copilot to do things that I traditionally wouldn't normally do. I can say, create me a calendar table with quarter, month, day. And this is a really naive example. You can get really complicated with this request. Calendar tables are painful. I always hate having to create one. And again, in Copilot, I can easily create myself a calendar table directly in this experience. And so really the goal of Copilot is to really help you save time. And a lot of the focus on our team, on the Power BI team specifically, is helping you guys be more productive with your data. And so that's really what I wanted to kind of show you. I'm going to hand it over to Rui, who will walk you through some of the other features that we have planned as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. That's amazing. I don't have the so shiny demos as Mo. Let me just put the slides. So we are going to focus on professional experiences, enterprise experiences. And by the way, how many pro BI or how many of you consider yourselves a professional BI, Power BI developer? Great. So 2023 was a landmark. It was a packed year for you guys, right? So we shipped a ton of stuff, and to empower the professional developer working with Power BI. And we are going to keep that innovation this year, although we do want to GA most of the features that you see on the left. So most of them are in public preview. But before going into the features, why should you care about this? If you are not a professional developer, why should you care about this? So, and if you feel any of the pains that I'm going to talk about, then you should care, and there is hope. So, like, I started a new development and I forgot to make a backup of my PBIX file, and I worked on the report and I worked on the semantic model, and I want to revert the changes that I did to the semantic model, but not to the report. And I want to revert to the changes of yesterday. Good luck, you cannot do that. I'm working with a colleague on a Power BI report using OneDrive, and we are constantly overriding each other. So we cannot co-develop that report or that semantic model. I wish there was a better way for me, in a supported way, to automate tedious tasks, like hide all the visual level filters of a report, or replace a logo on my 1,000 reports in my company because I need to do it. Or I'm tired of explaining to my team, especially newcomers on my team, basic development rules, or basic development rules of my team, of my company, like enforcing a certain naming convention to the semantic model, or don't use static colors, always use a theme color, because if you want to change that later, it's a ton of work. And I'm tired of spending 2 days preparing my next production deployment. How many of you felt this pain? Almost the same people that raised their hand before. Okay, and we are here for you. So the first thing, the foundation of all of this, is the Power BI Developer Mode. And Power BI Developer Mode is basically letting you save to a folder. And you open a PBIX and you can save to a folder, and you get some text, source control friendly files that you can do, that you can track with Git, and you can co-develop. And I'm sure most of you already saw a demo, but I'm going to do a demo because I'm going to show 2 things that we are shipping next week. So you start with a PBIX, and you save as a PBIP. So go save as, browse, and you select save as a PBIP. And one of the things that was really annoying when you save as a PBIP was that you didn't know that you were working on a PBIP. Guess what? Now you will know that you are working on a PBIP. You'll get an indication in the top that this is a Power BI project, and you will get the files and the folders where you are saving your work. And you can click, and it will jump you to that folder. How cool is this? And another thing that we are doing is, so inside of a PBIP, you have this item JSON, item metadata, item.config. Now we are merging that file, that information into a single file, that is the .platform file. Why? Because this is information that is required for the platform on things like Git integration. And just going to the end, and when you save as a PBIP and you do changes in your semantic model or your report, like I'm going to change a measure, I'm also going to use a Copilot to generate a measure description for me, amazing feature by the way, and change the format. And now when I save, the great thing about developer mode, and when you have a Git database in the behind of it, you can track your changes. And we are also using Timdal. And Timdal was I'm going to talk about Timdal in a second, but it's a representation of your semantic model in a much more text read friendly way. And you can track all these changes. And this is important for you to understand, because if you can track the changes, you can learn what the tool does, and if you need, you can automate what the tool does, okay? And of course, that first pane, you can track every single change that you do, okay? Everything that you do a commit. If you want to revert to last week, to last year version, you can do that. And you can do that selectively. You can revert the changes you made on the semantic model, you can revert the changes you made on the report. So Timdal, and it's in public preview, which we shipped in February. It's not just a better way to represent your semantic model in a readable and editable in any text editor. Our ambition with Timdal is much more. We want to give you a code-first semantic model experience. And we are investing a lot in that. So we are investing in the language, and you will be able to have IntelliSense. You will be able to do refactoring. You will be able to do navigation within that Timdal, in any Timdal document. But, and this is the one I'm really excited about because it's the first time we are going to do that. So we want to have, I won't say the same thing as Timdal for the report, but very close. And we are naming it the Power BI in Asset Report format, the PBIR. And this will be an open and public format. And this is a very important statement because this will let you make changes to the report inside of that PBIP without breaking desktop. If you follow the rules, desktop will be okay with those changes outside of desktop. This can open a ton of scenarios. We are talking about scenarios like, I want to copy the pages between two reports. If you want to copy pages between two reports, you cannot do that. You want to copy bookmarks between reports, you cannot do that. And with this, we will be able to do that. Of course, it's an advanced feature, but we'll be able to do that. And things like translations. I have my template report, and I want to generate 10 versions of that report in different translations, in a different language, and I want to use Copilot for that. We'll be able to do that. And of course, apply batch edits, because as I showed you, when you save as a PBIP and you have Git, you can learn what the tool is doing in the file. So you can look at the change. For example, hide the visual level filters. You will see that it's going to change a property, and you can easily write a script or use an external tool until, of course, the tool supports these kinds of batch edits. Let me show you. So I'm starting with the PBIP, and when you save, we will prompt you to upgrade. So don't worry, if you are already working with a PBIP, nothing will happen. You can save it, it will automatically convert for you, so you are not going to lose any work. So, and when you do the upgrade, I'm going to use the flyout again. I'm going to select on the report folder, and if you open this folder in a Visual Studio Code, just to better see the files, you'll see that instead of having a report.json, a very ugly report.json, you get a folder, and inside of that folder, you'll get a folder for each page and a file for each visual. And notice this, and this is really interesting. Every single file will have a schema, and that schema will have documentation embedded, so you will be able to over your mouse and you will understand what that property means. Something that is completely obscure today. And if you make changes, and if you are using the schema, if you make a change, the code editor will alert you, hey, you are using a wrong property. And of course, I can commit my changes. I can because it's a folder. I can have multiple developers working on the same report. Even if they are working on the same visual, they will get a conflict that you can solve. That's something that you cannot do today. So I'm going to make some changes in the report, change a visual type, change a field, and now when I save and I go back to VS Code and into Git, now I can track that change. It's not that anymore. It's not that inline that no one can understand and you cannot co-develop. Now you get a properly JSON formatted JSON, and you can understand the difference. You can understand what the tool is doing. One more time, not only for co-development, but also for automation, if you like. And now let's talk about CI/CD. How much time do I have? 16, okay. Let's start, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the platform. So it's not just about Power BI, but focused on Power BI. So if you want to do CI/CD today, you basically have three options. You can use deployment pipelines. It's a GA feature where basically we let you move content between workspaces. We even shipped this year a multiple stage. You can have more than three. The new Kit in a Block, Git integration that we shipped last year in May, that basically lets you synchronize a workspace to a Git environment, and this one, and I can get a little bit nerdy, but this one, it's really amazing what you can do with this. I'm going to show you a demo. So Git integration, one more time, synchronize a workspace to Git. You can manage branches in a friendly way. You can solve conflicts. And you can also automate. So because when you do a connection between a workspace to Git, by default, it's a manual synchronization. So you go there to make a change in a workspace, and then you see a notification, and you go there and you say, okay, I want to synchronize to Git, and the same way around. So you make a change in Git, for example, using Power BI Desktop, and you push your changes to Git, you see a notification in the workspace to import those changes to the workspace. So we just shipped last month the Git APIs. So you have APIs that let you automate the whole process if you want. And these are the items that we support today. Very soon, we will expand this list to support data pipelines, data warehouse, Spark jobs, and Spark environments. In the fullness of time, and I know that we are not still there, but in the fullness of time, every single Fabric item should have and will have a Fabric, a Git integration compatibility. Another thing that we are shipping soon is a branch out experience. So, for example, if you are a developer and you want to, you go to the development or to the production workspace and you want to make a change, you have to. Normally the best practice, you have an isolated workspace where you create a branch and you synchronize that branch in that isolated workspace. We are going to let you straight from that workspace. We call it the branch out experience, where you just say, okay, create a feature, and by the way, create this development workspace for me to work on, and in the end, delete it when I'm done. Now, Fabric user APIs, and this thing is amazing because as a former Power BI consultant, I always wish to have this, okay? Because this not only lets you do deployment, because you can use the Fabric APIs to do a deployment of your Power BI projects, but you can also do automation. And one of the amazing things about Fabric is that it's not only about, you can have a Power BI, but you can also have a notebook experience that you can call the APIs. So let me show you an example. So I have this workspace, and in this workspace I have 3 reports and 2 semantic models and 1 notebook. And I created this notebook that will let me call the API using SemPy. And SemPy, it's a library that you can install in Python that you can connect to the semantic model, but you can also call the API. And you can call the API without having to worry about authentication, which is great. So let us use that. So you import the semantic link, and you have this Fabric REST client method that you can initialize, and you can, for example, call the items API from the workspace. That will list all the items in that current workspace. Nothing fancy. Now, I can take one of those reports and I can call another API, and this one, it's something that I think we shipped in December. It's called the Get Item Definition API, and this API will return the definition of the report, or the definition of the semantic model, or the definition of whatever item you have in Fabric. And what is the definition? The definition, it's basically the content of that PBIP. So today, it's not yet have that PBIR format. It's a single file. So the get item definition will get you the report.json. And for every part of that definition, you have a base 64 that you can decode, basically the content of that definition. What you can do with that? You can create a report, for example. You can take that definition, you can get the definition from one report, and you can create another report in the same workspace or a different workspace. Look, so I'm just calling the API, and I'm going to use the items API and doing a post with the same definition of the previous report. And you can see that I just created a new report in my workspace. Just to make it clear, this is very different from the import API that already existed for many years. I'm just taking the definition of the report and I'm creating a new one. Now this is where this gets really interesting. I have 3 reports, and I could have 1,000 reports in this workspace. And on every single report, I have a logo. And let's imagine that I have a task that is I want to update that logo. That's my work. Today, if you don't use the APIs, you have 2 options. You can use unsupported stuff, and you can download all the PBIXs. You can use some external tool to make this change. But you need to know that, and it's pretty advanced. Or you can use the APIs to get the definition of every report that you have in the workspace, swap that logo with a new logo, and then call the update item definition. That's another API that can take that definition and update an existing item. Let me show you. So, and the beauty of this is like 10 lines of code. Most of the lines in here is with comments. So we start with I have a URL of the logo that I want to put in my report. And my Python code will download that logo, and it will get all the items in my workspace, and for every single item, it will get the item definition and post the item definition, swap the logo and post the item definition. And I can run this, and this will run in a matter of seconds, because this is just metadata. There is no data in here. That's a big difference to the import API. And guess what? All my reports in that workspace will get that new logo. And I could do this in the single workspace. I can do this in multiple workspaces if I want to. And the reason I'm talking about the APIs is bringing all of this together. How can you achieve CI/CD in Fabric and in Power BI? And you basically have three options. Option number one, you can use Git and deployment pipelines. And in this scenario, you basically have a workspace that is your development workspace. That development workspace is connected to Git. And then you, as a developer, using Power BI Desktop or using web modeling or using editing a report in the service, you create a feature branch, you do your development, and in the end, you do a pull request to the main branch, and that main branch is synchronized to the development branch, to the development workspace. And you deploy to the subsequent environments using deployment pipelines. And one thing that is really interesting about this, and in the deck I have two links to show you this, you can run tests. You can run tests on that pull request, and tests like quality tests, making sure that, for example, the semantic model is following a naming convention, making sure that the report metadata, because you save as in developer mode, you save as text files, is going to use, you are not using static colors instead of theme colors. And you can also do data tests. And there is a very interesting testing pattern created by a community member called, named John Kursky. That is using DAX query view and a pattern to create tests using DAX, and then you can run those tests, because when you in the DAX query view, when you save as a PBIP, you get the DAX queries in a folder, so you can run and get those DAX queries, run them, and do some data quality tests over the workspace. And if you want, you can also automate the whole thing. You can automate the synchronization between the development branch and the dev workspace using the Gate APIs. And you also have the deployment APIs, the deployment pipeline APIs that you can use to move between the dev, test, and prod. Another scenario is you don't use deployment pipelines at all. You have everything in Git, and you have one branch for each environment. And this works fine. The only situation that you can run into is if you have your dev, test, and prod branch, you will probably have dev, test, and prod connections, right? So you need to change those connections. And today, whenever you are doing, let's say, a pull request or a merge between dev and test, you need to make sure that the test will be targeting the test data sources. And for that, you can use some the release branches technique, where basically just before the pull request, you create a release branch, you do the change of a connection, and you are good to go. And one more time, you can also automate the whole thing with the Fabric Git APIs. And the last scenario is, you don't care, you don't want to use deployment pipelines, you don't want to use Git integration, you want to be in full control. I just want to leave you a disclaimer that, okay, you can have that full control, but also you get more responsibility. If it breaks, you fix it, okay? But in this scenario, using that same set of APIs I showed in the demo, you have full control. You can take the PBIP or content that exists in DevOps or in GitHub or in Bitbucket, whatever you want, and you can take those definitions and you can use the API to deploy to the multiple stages. So one more time, this scenario can give you a lot of flexibility, but you will need to own the full process. Okay. And one more thing. So of course, if you are running and doing deployments from DevOps or GitHub, you want to run that unattended. So today on the documentation, we say that the APIs do not support service principals, which is true. But for the semantic model and the report, we do support the service principles and you can use them, but it will only be for those two items. We are working to make it support for all the other items, but today they are only supported for these two. Mo.
So it's funny because this conference comes just before the Fabric conference, which is our conference that we host, is our first ever one for Fabric. And so I put a note here, and someone put a comment there. It's funny. I put a note there that to actually see more of these announcements, if you wait till next week, we'll actually have a ton more Power BI announcements coming. And so I had to be very careful what I shared. So you guys have seen some things I just showed you recently released. We've got map improvements, visual calculations, the new Explore feature that you can use inside the service, and Copilot. You're going to keep seeing Copilot improvements every month. Get used to it. That's going to be the flavor. Things that are coming soon that I've announced before, so I won't get in trouble. Folders and workspaces, a big one, is coming in very, very soon. And I think that's going to be the biggest lifesaver. I'm already using it, and it's making my workspaces look much, much cleaner than before. Dark mode is coming very, very soon. And then all the things that Rui showed you in terms of Tyndall view, also the report format is coming soon as well. And then, yeah, just stay tuned until I think on Tuesday, the new blog will go live with more and more announcements for Power BI. And I'm happy to open up for questions. We've got like 3 or 4 minutes. Please raise your hand and I'll try to get as many as I can. And I'll go through the order that I saw them go up in. So, yeah. Oh, I see. So when you open up desktop, the first screen that you see, and I'll repeat the question, what is Backstage? The first screen that you open up desktop, you used to get this like ugly green splash screen. And now we have the Office screen that comes up that shows you your reports and that. That's called Backstage. That's what the Backstage feature is. Question here?
Are there plans to support tables, partitions, and processing at the desktop level?
Are there plans to support tables, partitions?
Updating them from a third-party tool?
Oh, third-party tool. I don't believe so in the next...
Yeah, so on the short term, we do not plan to let you edit partitions in Power BI Desktop. You still need to do that using external tools. We do plan to be okay with it. So you can have partitions and desktop be okay with it and do not crash. And that's what's happening today. Not sure. But it's the plan is at least to not crash. Open it and letting it save. And for example, do not letting you edit the queries of those tables because it has partitions.
Yeah.
So basically, when you have partitions, you are in full control of the query metadata of the table.
Question there?
Will any of the preview features from 2023 or the ones that you presented now will be available out of preview in the near future?
So it depends on, if you're talking about the shape map visual, that's going to be, that one's going to be going away very soon. And going to be replaced. The Azure maps will have all the capability there. In general, we try to GA a lot of our features in 1 year. There are some exceptions, like the tooltips one. Things that impact consumer reports, they take a lot longer to GA. And so our goal is to try to GA as many as we can within 1 year. Question?
Okay. Is there any plan to have the changes that we do in text editors to be automatically updated in the Power BI desktop, or will they continue to? I need to reopen Power BI so that those changes happen in the desktop.
Is that for you, Ruth?
Yeah. So the question was, if you make external changes outside of Power BI desktop, you need to close desktop and reopen it, and you don't have any indication. Yes, we plan to improve that experience.
Yeah. There's questions over there. I think the microphone's getting there as well.
Yeah. Is there any plan to move the connection strings out of Git in a Key Vault, for example?
Sorry, can you repeat connection strings? Out
The connection
of Git?
strings you have that you keep between each deployment, and if you want to keep it independent of each environment, is it possible to get it outside of the Key Vault, outside of the Git repository, for example, in a Key Vault?
So, not. Oh, you mean but on the after you deploy to the
When we
service?
deploy, you want to deploy to a service with different settings per environment.
You want an integration with Key Vault for
example.
the items that exist in the workspace. Want to take that?
We are working on Key Vault integration being a native Fabric integration point. I don't know the exact date, but we will support that scenario.
Any indication on when Data Factory will be coming to deployment pipelines?
Next month.
Yeah.
The question was
Perfect.
when deployment pipelines will be available.
You mean as in to be supported as part of deployment pipelines? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? There's one more question at the back, and I think that will be the last question we take because of time. Yeah.
Hi. Are all of the features available for premium per user licenses, and how many of them are for Pro?
Ooh. Well, actually, no, I didn't actually show any premium per user license features today. Copilot, the one that's in this list today, Copilot and Git are the only ones that require you to have premium. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Premium or Fabric capacity?
I think premium per user, I don't think, is Git supported in premium per user?
It is for Power BI content.
Yeah. Okay. In general, we try to make it available for Pro unless it is going to cost a lot. And then therefore, like Copilot requires us to have GPUs. If you were in my talk yesterday, I talked about how the GPUs are even configured. It's super expensive and is why it requires premium. So we're not trying to purposely put things only in premium. Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.